what's kind of your history with the horror genre? How did you kind of come into the genre? What's kind of your relation with it?
I guess it really, I have an older sister, and growing up, she was really into horror. And when I was very little, I was an absolute chicken. And she used to subjugate me to all these, horrible horror films, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and all this. And I was just an absolute coward. Once I got past the initial, oh, I'm supposed to be afraid of this factor. I started to really understand that no, I'm not really scared of this. I enjoy these. These are actually pretty cool. And just like once I got past the initial oh, I'm supposed to be afraid of this factor. I started to really understand that no, I'm not really scared of this. I enjoy these. These are actually pretty cool. I got into a lot of stuff that actually went kind of beyond my sister. So she more or less stayed with like kind of the mainstream stuff. And then her introducing them to me made me want to go and look into more variety of stuff. So now that I'm older, I actually find myself introducing her to a lot of stuff that she's missed, because she likes like Insidious and The Conjuring and all that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but those are more of like the mainstream, and I'm introducing her to Old Boy and Tale of Two Sisters and a lot of the stuff that is fantastic, but is not hitting with mainstream audiences. So really it's entirely her fault.
Speaking of horror films, so with the channel, Good Bad Flicks, you cover a lot of horror films, but you also kind of cover tons of other films and tons of other different genres. I know you've started covering TV shows as well now. Sort of, how did the channel come about? Like, how did the idea for covering movies that are so bad they're good sort of happen?
Back in the late 2000s, around like 2009 or so, there was this rise of what a lot of people say was like the rise of the review-averse, which was people like the Nostalgia Critic and to a certain degree Angry Video Game Nerd. But what happened around that time was that people were just taking notoriously bad movies, but they were movies that I really didn't think were necessarily bad. I thought they were enjoyable, but they just had a bad reputation. And so what I wanted to do was come at this from more of a loving perspective. So I started uploading my videos there, and I noticed that I was getting comments from people who I didn't know. Like, that was, for me, the first hint that this was something bigger than I had initially anticipated. And originally it was just, hey, great job, love what you do, from my friends. But then it was just random people that were watching this and were like, hey, I love this. Oh, I grew up with this movie. This is great.
I can certainly say, thanks to your videos, your channel, you've definitely introduced me to a lot of films. Just for example, like the movie Disturbing Behavior. I think your video on it is fascinating, and I've come to really enjoy that movie. When it comes to covering movies that the consensus for most people is usually that they're bad, has there ever been a movie that you've covered where you've kind of gotten pushback? I'm sure most fans have been pretty supportive, but have you ever covered that one movie where it's just like, your opinion is wrong, like I don't know how you could see any value in this movie, yada yada yada, stuff like that?
I think the only other video I did, it was an experiment. I did a video on I'm trying to remember okay, I did a video on a movie called The Host. Now, The Host was the lady who did the Twilight movies. It was basically Twilight with aliens. But I did that when I was like, look, I know this is out of my usual wheelhouse. I kind of thought the movie was fun, and I had fun with it. The audience liked it, but that was one where they were like, all right, guy, you're going a little too far off of your wheelhouse. And I was like, okay, cool. I just wanted to try something different and see if it worked. I mean, I wasn't going to start doing 50 Shades of Grey or something, but it was just an experiment. So that's probably the only one that I got pushback from my audience.
On the opposite end of the spectrum, is there any movie in particular you can think of that is usually universally praised that you yourself find maybe not terrible, but you just don't get what everyone is talking about?
I always go to my go-to movie is The Hangover. I thought I've only ever seen the first one because the first one was so bad I didn't want to see the other two. I grew up with Caddyshack and not Animal House. Animal House was, but I saw that when I was probably too young, but and that was already long since out of theaters when I saw it. The Hangover for me is just what I felt was kind of wrong with comedy. There was too much. Everything was set up, joke, set up, joke. Like, so I could see where every joke was going, and it just was not funny.
When it comes to, say, maybe recent horror releases or just kind of horror in the past couple years, what is sort of like a film that you always recommend to people?
A lot of people think that just because I like bad movies, quote unquote, I like garbage. Like I don't enjoy something a little bit more intelligent. I would probably say, if I had to tell somebody to watch something that I would really definitely be firm on that I think that they would enjoy. There's a movie from 2012 called Resolution. From Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. It's about a friend who his best friend has turned into a junkie, and he wants him to be able to get off of the drugs. I think if it's been a while since I've seen it, but I'm pretty sure it's meth. So he takes him, he kind of kidnaps him more or less, takes him up to this cabin and chains him inside the cabin to try to force sobriety on him. But while they're at this cabin, they're being manipulated by some sort of external outside force. And it is just a fascinating movie. It culminates in another film that comes later, but it's one of those, if you see this film, it's a complete film, you can see it, but if you want more story, then there's another film called The Endless that comes back around on this, and it's just fascinating. The Faculty is a big one that I really want to do. That's one I've gotten tons of requests for. I've had a lot of people asking me for Masters of the Universe, which was one that I actually was able to do at the end of last year. I did an updated video on that. I've had a lot of people asking me to do an updated video on Dread from 1995. And that one was a little bit rough, but I did manage to talk to some people that worked on it that gave me a ton of information that is not out there already. So I feel like if I can hopefully do it this year, that would be good. But they, as you can imagine, even getting all the information, they still take a really long time to put together because I'm just one guy. Like there are certain channels that have a lot of they have their own editors and writers and all that stuff. And me, I really like to do everything myself because I have the voice, I have the editing skills, and I really think that puts my personal touch on it. If I had somebody else doing it, I don't think it would be quite as good. And also, I'm kind of a pain to work with, so it's all just so that way I'm just working by myself. So, but yeah, there's a lot of videos that I would love to do, and I'm really happy that I get to continue to do them.
I'm glad your content's great. I know, speaking for myself, I'm a big fan. I hope you keep it up. Speaking for everyone else, but that is going to do it. Thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting with me a little bit about your connection with horror and just kind of your experience in general. It's been really informative. It's been great. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man. I had a good time.